Let's give them a hand. Look at these two athletes. Get on your feet. Look at these two guys. Unbelievable. The future and the past right here. Gold medalist, maybe a future gold medalist. Thank you for doing what you've done to inspire so much of us. It is rare to have such great athletes here. All right, amazing. Now, with no further ado, our moderator, the legend herself, our executive director of the California International Marathon, SRA Executive Director, Ellen Moore. Welcome, Ellen. Take it away.
Thanks, Eric, but honestly, that's an insult. Not legendary at all. But so thank you guys for being here. You know, Eric mentioned it's rare to have two athletes of this caliber on the same stage. These are two athletes from our community, which is, you know, even crazier. And then as you guys watch those videos, how eerily similar are the final stretches of their two races. I've had a chance to see those videos over the last year a lot of times, and it truly never gets old. So I just want to say thank you two for being here. It's an honor for me to share the stage with you. It was an honor to do research on you guys last year, and looking forward to asking you a few questions right now. All right, we're gonna start a little bit, start at the beginning, just talk a little bit about how they got their introduction to the sport, their experiences growing up, talk about the success they've had, the experiences they've had through the sport of long distance running, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future as well. So I'm gonna start with Kim. You're a native Northern Californian, had success in high school, went on to run at UC Davis, very successful Aggie over there, still holds school records. You've been able to make a tremendous leap, over the last couple years. But talk a little bit about just your introduction to the sport, how you got involved. Was it a family affair, and just how the sport has helped you grow?
So, like Ellen.
On? Yep.
Okay. So, like Ellen said, I grew up in Santa Rosa, California, loved playing all kinds of sports, and I'm just very competitive by nature. But I played a different sport every season when I was a kid. I was a soccer player in the fall and a basketball player in the winter, and my first spring sport was softball, which soon became pretty boring because I just wasn't running around enough. So we quit softball and joined the Santa Rosa Express track team, and after a while that kind of took over from everything, and I just really fell in love with running once I got into high school and was part of a great team, and really just loved going for runs with my teammates. So that was my introduction to running.
And Billy, from the research we've been able to do for you, it's not too dissimilar in that you took up running to stay in shape for boxing and football, correct?
Yeah, kind of. Maybe I was tired of being beaten up. I took up boxing and I had 6 fights in the ring, 0 wins and 6 losses. But I enjoyed the running for boxing. But actually, my upbringing was, I would say, more like the Kenyans. A typical day of play as an 11, 12-year-old would bike. We didn't have a car. I'd bike one way, 1-speed bike, 15 miles. And this is 11, 12, 13 years of age. I actually started at age 9. We'd swim across the lake, blow up an inner tube, and swim a half a mile across the lake. We'd have some jars, fairly tight, so water would get in. We'd have Kool-Aid. We'd have maybe a tomato, maybe a potato, have something just to eat. We'd swim a half mile across the lake. Got tired, we'd pop up and float in the inner tube, get across the lake, and we'd play in the cherry trees and the plum trees. Then swim back and 50 mile back home. Many times during the summer, that was a typical 2-day activity a week. And just to go fishing, we'd walk, my dad and I, we'd walk 6 miles to the fishing hole, 6 miles back. So we had to entertain ourselves. We were not entertained, we had to entertain ourselves. And growing up similar to what I would say would be like the Kenyans.
Now, Kim, making that transition from that early introduction to the sport, and like I said, having success in high school and college, we saw in your video that you were quoting the New York Times as saying that nobody looked at you in high school and said there was a future Olympian. So tell the crowd a little bit about just that belief in yourself and how you were able to take that big leap to where you are now, being a professional athlete, an Olympian, and sort of that support system that you've had in place, and maybe some of the people that believed in you and made you realize that you could be an Olympian.
So one of the great things about this sport is you can continue to just compete with yourself and try to better yourself all the time. And I think that's why a lot of people here love it, because it's not always about where you finish amongst other people in the race, but it's how you're comparing to yourself on a day. And so for me, when I started running on my junior high team, I was the third best runner on the team, and when I went to high school, I was kind of anywhere like third, fourth, or fifth runner on the team. But like I said, I was very competitive by nature, and I wanted to be the #1 runner eventually. And so I've just always been very dedicated to the training and wanted to just chip away at wherever I was at and just continue to improve and get better and work my way up the ladder, as it were. So I kind of have kept that mentality my entire career. And when I graduated from college, Drew Wartenberg, who's in the orange back there, he had just come to UC Davis as the coach, and he is still my coach today. And that was the first time in my career, or this is the first time in my career, I've had consistent coaching in one coach over a multi-year span. And so I think the key to the success in the past 3 or 4 years has been that consistency and having kind of a shared vision of where I'm going and just continuing to chip away at my PRs and get faster.
Billy, for you, you mentioned this in your acceptance speech at the Hall of Fame, talking about your father and the influence that he had on you at a young age, and he passed away at a young age, 14-ish. Talk a little bit about just the support that you had, and in that last kick, I no doubt you're fast and you have a good kick, but that was guts. So talk about the support system, just the belief you had in yourself, and who helped you be able to do that mentally and emotionally.
I think I'd like to first say that my father was this ideal man to me, but you look at his entire journey through life, he died when he was 47. He was not a good husband, and by the time I was born, I think he was trying to find redemption. So he spent a lot of time talking to me just about virtues and values. One of the most powerful things he taught me was respect our women because they're sacred, but he would tell me why. So I grew up a lot different than my brothers and sisters in the same household. When my mom died, he told me I had broken wings. And he said, you have to look beyond the hurt, the hate, the jealousy, the self-pity. Way down deeper where the dreams lie. Find your dream, it's the pursuit of the dream that heals broken souls. But he died when I was 12, and this incredible change was occurring in America. Plessy versus Ferguson. 1896 Supreme Court ruling. White and black, equal but separate, being overturned with Brown versus Board of Education. So I was involved observing that change, but also feeling some of the pain of the change. So when I 3 times make an All-American, I'm asked to get out of the photo. Twice I think it was because if I got out of the photo, the top 5 would be all foreign athletes. And I think that's probably the reason why I took it racial. And I came so close to suicide my junior year in college. But I remember my dad just saying he needed a dream to heal a broken soul. So my dream became gold medal 10,000 meter run. And started trying to take the culture, the tradition, the spirituality, extract out the virtues and the values, and transfer them into a current day pursuit. In this case, it was an Olympic pursuit. So he would say, if you do these things, someday you'll have wings of an eagle. And the last lap of my race at the Olympic Games, I'm going low blood sugar, I'm type 2 diabetic, hypoglycemic, and I let them get maybe 10 yards ahead of me. I'd make one final try coming off the curve. Coming off the curve, it's like, now, I've got to go now. And I looked at a runner that we lapped, and I could see an eagle on his singlet, and it was just so powerful. Back to my dad, wings of an eagle. I can win, I can win, I can win. 30 meters to go. I may never be this close again. I've got to do it now. Wings of an eagle. I won. I broke the tape. I go to find the German athlete to tell him the singlet helped me win. I found him. There was no eagle there. There was no It was just a perception. So I think my dad just prepared me that in a rapidly changing world, we're going to have to deal with perceptions. So my winning a gold medal, for me, was a little different than I think most gold medalists. I think it was a gift. So I spent the rest of my life trying to get back.
You both, lived a life of relative anonymity before your success, at the Olympics, and for Kim at the Olympic trials. Talk about, we'll start with Kim and then, just go right into Billy, just being in the spotlight now, having a platform by which you can share your message, and talk about maybe some of the being in the limelight, one, and then just two, some of the things that you're passionate about that you've been able to share with people that, might be relevant to people here, or, youth in our community. What are you passionate about in that message?
Yeah, it touched on it in the video, but I think the thing for me is that, I wasn't someone that people, looked at when I was younger and said that's a real talent, that girl's going to be an Olympian one day. And it really was for me about the work, and running's a sport that you get out of it what you put into it. And luckily I also love it, and so it's not that hard for me to get out the door every day and train, because it's what I love to do. But for me, it's just been about stacking all this training, years and years and years of work, and letting it all build upon itself. And then, for me, it was at the Olympic trials in 2012, and all those years kind of culminated in that last 150 meters and created that special moment.
And you, Billy, just kind of, you had the movie made of you, Running Brave. You did some public appearances, and you were able to share. I know you're involved with Running Brave, or the Running Strong, for Indian youth. So talk about that and just being able to share your message. You have a very powerful message, and you take a great sense of pride in your community.
I think the question was actually more suited for somebody who's a great-grandfather like I am, where Kim is so young, so intelligent, so capable, that she's just beginning to choreograph her journey into this rapidly changing world. I thought my moment was a gift, and I wanted to give back. So my wife, I didn't know how to give back. She said, why don't you take the inspiration that was given to you and try to pass it on to another generation? So we did the movie Running Brave, and just one example of how the movie was beneficial. We got a call from a young boy in Canada. Is there really a Billy Mills? Yes, there is. Is he really half Indian, half white? Yes, he is. Well, I want to be like Billy, but I want to be this outstanding athlete at my school. He kept in touch with Patricia. He said, if I don't win, my best friend wins. Either way, I touch victory. The results were he won, his best friend finished second in this award. They have a pizza party. His best friend doesn't show up. Toward the end of the party, his best friend showed up just with a little bag and said, I want to say goodbye, I'm leaving. My folks don't want me to come home. My folks said never allow an Indian person to beat you. If you keep pressuring them, they'll all break. Every time I pressure you, you don't break. You reach out and help me get better, and you get better. So he said goodbye to his friend. He walked outside, pulled out a pistol, and kills himself. And life was lost. The young Indian boy picked up a pistol and was going to kill himself. Wait a minute, in the movie Running Brave, Billy loses Frank. He doesn't kill himself. He goes on and accomplishes his dream. Maybe just for himself. Maybe for his tribal nation. Maybe for his country. He puts the pistol down and calls Pat while they're calling an ambulance, etc. So I wanted to just take the inspiration that multitudes of people gave to me and pass it on to another generation. The movie has been in 32 different countries. The next thing I wanted to do was to, because I thought twice in my journey of suicide, so I wanted to address a healthy mind. We wrote a book with Linda Sparks in 1992. It was published, and it's been in 7 languages, 16 countries. In the book, we get calls from people throughout the world. We got an email from a young man from Australia. This was a year ago. I've been searching for myself. He tried different ways to find himself. He said, I went into a used bookstore, and far in the back I was called, and Lessons of a Lakota found me. and he just got some help from the book. So I wanted to give back, but very quickly now the most powerful way I've been able to give back is because the multitudes of compassionate people in America, through the use of my name, directly and indirectly, we've raised almost $700 million in cash and in-kind for charities worldwide. Part of that $700 million, $125 million in poverty pockets of America, we've been able to raise funds to dialysis clinics, food banks, etc. And you never know if what you're doing is accomplishing, and you don't expect people to recognize it, but two things happened this year that it was like, wow, I'm on the right path of trying to get back to society. And that's when I was honored when President Obama presented me with the Citizens Medal. So the second highest honor you can receive in the United States. And then just yesterday when it was announced that I was the recipient of the highest award that NCAA gives to an individual, the Teddy Roosevelt Award. And all of those were based upon a journey of 50 years next year since winning the gold medal, of my effort to take that one moment in time and give back to society. And it's extremely humbling. And all it did is reconfirm my victory was a gift. If you ever see this young lady's 200 meters at the Olympic trials, if she was in the 10,000 meters in '64, she'd be the gold medalist. And that was one of the most powerful moments I've ever watched in sport.
Let's touch on that Olympic experience for both of you. 1964, 2012, as Billy alluded to, we're almost at the 50-year anniversary of yours. So that's, a pretty large gap in between both of your Olympic experiences. Set the stage a little bit, looking back on those games. 1964 was the first games held in Asia. Was the first games where the competition was telecast internationally. It was the last games where the cinder running track was used. And it was the first time South Africa was barred from taking part due to its apartheid system of sport. So those were some of the controversies going on and kind of setting the stage. Fast forward to 2012, obviously held in London. Controversies centered around sponsorships, athletes' use of social media,